I don't even know where to start with Kyle. Fresh from the traffic jam, he's here. If you were at the light, I hope you weren't at the light 4 minutes ago, because you wouldn't be having a hard time watching us on your phone. But Kyle is here. Coach Doug Schreiber, thank you for making your way up here. Obviously, Purdue's baseball coach, and we know one thing. It's kind of like our way of making it's a rain dance, so to speak. We know baseball's around the corner, so therefore this gosh awful weather is going to get better, right?
Yeah, we always say when it gets down to single digits, baseball season's right around the corner. So we've been going since January 24th. And, we start February 14th, so we're not too far away.
There was at least one day last year that you were outside this time, right? I saw some pictures out on the football practice field from a year ago.
Yeah, about this time last year we were outside. So, we weren't out on the grass yet, but we were at least out in some of the elements. And as brave and as strong as I think some of our guys are, I don't think I can put them up to that for right now.
What's it like in Mollenkopf? Because it seems to me, I was out of practice for a couple of minutes the other day. It's hard to see that baseball in there. So does it make it a little bit hard to hit the baseball? And talking to Sean McHugh, he made it sound like the baseball is about the size of a beach ball then when you finally got outside, because you could see it so much better.
Yeah, you get acclimated to it, so you do get used to it. But it is kind of that off-white walls and the white baseball that you're dealing with. And, every now and then you're going to, it's tough to pick a ball off, the bat. But it does help us, I think, when we go outside, because it does seem a little bit bigger. But it's, we always have the vision training and things like that you read about and we don't necessarily, tap into. I guess we got our own kind of form of, vision training. So
I thought your point was good the other day in talking about being inside, that you can work on maybe some of the little things that you wouldn't generally if you were outside, like, bunt defense, because you're in a small space. You can work on maybe some of the finer points with things.
Yeah, I mean, when you're confined, now Mollenkopf doesn't confine us really too much.
Yeah.
But when you're in confined spaces, you break the game down a little bit more, and you explain, because you're not going to just be doing batting practice or scrimmaging or, doing some of those things that you can in wide open spaces. So I think there are some advantages, I think, of going inside. And, when I was down at Arizona State, if it rained, we didn't have a place to go. I mean, we didn't have an indoor, because you don't need one very often, but so Mollenkopf it's really nice, because we are able to scrimmage, and pitchers throwing an open air environment, and base runners running bases and everything, and infielders at least getting to see the ball off the bat. So it gives us a good look.
Yeah, not one to shy away from and we were talking off air, which is very interesting to me, about kind of the reverse notion. And we look at making the NCAA tournament kind of in a basketball. I mean, everybody thinks about how it is for men's and women's basketball. For you guys, even though the Big Ten is much improved, and still a chance to get those quality wins can come early in the year when you are in some ways least prepared, at least seasoned by that time. Talk about that challenge.
Well, we're trying to build that resume as well, and we have to get out of the elements. We are a winter spring sport, because we're I think spring starts March 20th this year, so we are a winter sport. And what people don't realize too, we start February 14th, but we are preparing our team in a venue that doesn't resemble our actual playing surface. So I always liken it to it'd be similar to a basketball team practicing on a grass basketball court with rims at 9 feet high. And all of a sudden on first game, they have to play on a wood floor with rims at 10 feet. So, but we do it. We go down. I think this year we're playing our first 24 out of the 26 games on the road. So, and that's really our only opportunity to go down and play some of those Southern schools and West Coast schools early, because they can't return those trips usually because of the weather early in the season, and then conference play later. So it's very, very minimal, an opportunity to get somebody back. So you play that, heavy on the front end, and you try to build up as good a resume as you can, and you've got to mix it a little bit. But we've challenged ourselves this year, and looking forward to it.
The RPI formula has changed a bit over the years, right? Does it give you and other Northern teams a better opportunity to build maybe a resume to get an at-large bid?
Yeah, last year was the first year that they did it, where they're given, I think it's 1.3 for a road win versus just a 1 point. Had they had that in place in 2012, we would have had the number one RPI in the country. So because there we played only 16 home games in that season. So I think we're back this year playing 17 home games, and so we're on the road quite a bit. But it does kind of reward you for playing on the road, but it still doesn't there's still, I think, a deficiency of, opening up that many games on the road early in the season. And, it's hard to build that fan base. We're trying to, get interest, in the program and everything. And I think we do have a good following, but at the same time, they don't get to see our team until we're 25, 26 games into the season. And, I think that makes it a little bit hard.
Yeah, you talk about that and the good following in the great facility that you're playing now. We could have asked Morgan, why don't we just go ahead and build an indoor practice facility for baseball? I'm kidding. But really, your facility is second to none, and yet you would like it. Last year, in year one, you had some questionable weather. Even for that, it'd be nice. Maybe the way this winter's worked, you're going to get some 70-degree days out there. But talk about that, the effect that facility has had. We've had a couple of questions about that on recruiting and how just people. Obviously, the season you had 2 years ago certainly got people's attention, but that facility when they get here is important as well.
It is, and I've said that your facility is kind of the book cover to your program. It's not all about, you're not going to get all the best recruits just because you have a great facility, but, it's just like a book with a nice shiny, book cover on it. If you see it, you might pull it off the shelf and open it up, and it gives them, I think, an opportunity to look at the contents and then really, see. But I do think that, your facilities do tell at least a little bit, or the perception of the investment into your program. And, so yes, we've had, great interest, and it's definitely helped us. There's some things that we miss about Old Lambert Field.
Yeah.
And, we used to have the smallest dugouts in the Big Ten. And, we were like, now that we got the Alexander Field, we're like, we're building these things big. And so we have the biggest dugouts in the Big Ten. But now I kind of miss having the tight space and, being able to look and reach everybody. And now it's, they're really spread out. But, the field and the stadium is just it's remarkable, and it's very humble that we're able to play there. And but I think from a recruiting standpoint, it does create some interest that they look at it. It's first class, and they know that that's again important for them.
Yeah,
you have to hail a cab, I think, to get from one side of that dugout to the other.
Oh yeah. Which I think some of the players like. So.
Well, last year was a struggle on the field. I think 17-34, which we won't talk about too much. But how do you go from that to getting back? You had a very young squad. I would imagine that the experience gained last year will help you out tremendously this year.
Yeah, I mean we're looking at that hopefully that experience and even from the negative experience. I mean, we want these guys to have a little bit of chip on their shoulder and know that they don't want to go through that again. So. It was a learning experience, and it's something that I think that we'll continue to grow from. And it's hard when you have that much turnover. It was still a little bit obviously disappointing that we should never have gotten it to that point. But again, it's a new year, and I think a great opportunity for our three seniors to lead this team. And that freshman class is now sophomores and a year under their belt, and practices again have been a little bit more businesslike and. They know what they have ahead of them too with the schedule.
Well, you cracked down on them a little bit more this year too, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean,
Sean McHugh called it old tribes, although he said, I haven't been around really for old tribes, but from what I understand, it's more discipline needed.
A little bit more structure. I think the way I likened it was that group that came in, the Perkins and Plawecki group, when they were freshmen. They still probably got a little bit of the old tribes, and but they learned, but they were just, they made good decisions on the field and off the field, and so they built that trust, and then I could loosen the reins a little bit to the point where I really trusted them. 2012, my job was probably more just get out of their way and let them play, and going into 2013, I probably let some of that trust carry over, and even though it hadn't necessarily been earned. To that point, so we went back, and this year, I mean, just the workouts have been harder, and which I think makes the team a little bit closer when it comes to making sacrifices together, and so I think it all works out well that way, and it's I think it's been good.
Yeah.
Now, interesting. The last 2 years, you have Purdue break a long drought to win a Big Ten championship. Indiana, obviously, last year as well. What's the league look like, and who do you expect to really be the teams that are going to be the teams to beat in the conference?
Well, Indiana is really returning quite a bit from last year's team, so I know they're preseason top 10. but Ohio State, I think Nebraska is going to be good. Those are probably the two teams right out of the chute. But it's a little bit hard too because baseball recruiting probably isn't as covered as well as basketball and football. Sure. So you don't always know who's coming in and those type of things. But the Minnesotas and some of the teams that have been consistent, throughout the years. Michigan has gotten a little bit better, and I think everyone has gotten better in this conference. So it's fun. It's going to be continue to grow the next year with adding 2 teams. So,
yeah.
But we're looking forward to it, and again, we know we got a challenge. Even before Big Ten starts.
Where do you think you'll be better this year than you were last year?
I think defensively, Brandon Craig now has had a whole year of off-season reps. So he'll be better at shortstop. Cody Strong at second base. Again, he's got a few more reps. We had to kind of figure out, who was playing where, last year because we had some players default a little bit. But in the outfield, we've got some speed and some power. Jack Picciotti, I think, is a little bit healthier behind the plate. Sean McHugh can bounce behind the plate and give us a quality guy there as well. So I think defensively will probably be the biggest adjustment. And hitting-wise, that variable of the opposing pitcher is always out there. So,
yeah.
But I think, again, we'll be better offensively. Still probably looking for some guys with some speed to kind of work their way into the lineup a little bit more. And then I also think bullpen-wise. We were very young on the backside last year, and I think this year, we've got some of those guys back with some experience, and Brett Hahn, will join us as a junior. Yeah. So even though he's new to Division I, he's an older guy, and he's going to be able to play, I think, a couple different roles for us on the mound.
And your starters, too. Health is always key.
Oh, yeah.
But, with Jordan Minch and Kyle Wood and Connor Podkul, provided he makes it fully back from his injuries of over the last year, 3 good ones that you feel pretty good stacking up with just about anybody, right?
Right. If Minch, Podkul, and Wood, if those 3 guys can stay healthy, and Minch has been healthy, but Wood had surgery after his high school season, or after his senior year in high school. Podkul had surgery last year, so he's out last year. But if they can stay healthy throughout the season, I'll put those 3 guys up against anybody. And then again, it's just going to be a matter of those middle guys, and we've got some really quality arms at the end of the ball game, and they just got to fine tune and make sure they're in the zone and attack like a Nick Wickren or Josh Lindblom.
Yeah. How do you get them ready, though? Again, the arms, you talk about your ability to work out and do live stuff in Molenkoff, but when do you really think your pitchers are where you'd like them to be? Is it April 15th, or do you really have to have them ready to go? You got to assume you have to use them in shorter stints early in the year, typically.
We do. We'll get them up to a 70, 75 pitch count for the starters indoors. That way, if they can go in 15 to 20 pitch increments, so that the following weekend they could be up around that 90 pitch range. But depending on the weather and some things like that too. We won't always push them that way. So it's early in the season that a lot of pitchers are going to get opportunity because you're not going to push some guys maybe as far, but. You do want to win, because you've got to win some games right out of the chute, but it's going to be probably more of a staff effort. But for those starting pitchers, I would definitely say, by the 3rd weekend being outdoors, that they're going to have to be up to full speed. And, so you want them going into Big Ten, I think, with some long outings under their belt. When I say long, 6-7 innings, depending on pitch count too. So. But if we can have that going into Big Ten, that's kind of what we're looking for.
Hey, Kyle, we have time for one more question. Anything else you want to hit
Just
on?
that, you were in Alexander for the first time last year. Unfortunate that the weather was so bad, but you had a good season ticket base. Where is it at going into this year? Obviously, you hope for a little bit nicer weather, too, which certainly would have helped a year ago.
Yeah, always will help. With marketing and promotions, I know that they're making a push. I think we, averaged a little over 1,000 people last year, so we would love to see the stadium full, and I think it's important for us to get a student base out there, and maybe a student group, organized. So those are some things that we're looking for this year. But they're going to bring the people out to the ballpark. The weather hopefully will cooperate, but people will come out in bad weather to watch a good product, and we've got to make sure that we put a good product on the field. Yeah,
control what you can control from that standpoint. Coach, best of luck to you, and again, first game it's 2 weeks from
February 14th. We're down in Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll open up. It's a 3-team kind of a weekend. we'll play Nebraska Omaha a couple games, and then the University of Tennessee a couple games.
Yeah, you play a whole cupcake schedule there the first month. Of the
Oh
season.
yeah, yeah.
That's sarcasm.
Yeah,
By the
that
way.
is, if you can't tell over the internet, that's sarcasm. Coach, again, thanks again so much for joining us. We will take a 2-minute break, get Brian Newbert on the phone. He's already on the phone and waiting, and we'll look forward to talking a little bit about Purdue basketball, a little bit of football recruiting, National Signing Day, obviously Wednesday, in our last segment on Gold and Black Live.